This month's episode is a little extra special. Some of you may recognize the story you're about to hear, and that's because I'm republishing last year's Christmas episode. It touched so many hearts, including my own, that I wanted to make sure no one misses the chance to experience it. When it first aired, the podcast was still in its early days, and many of our new listeners never got to hear this beautiful story. The tale of St. Nicholas's Elves is one that will warm your heart because it's filled with kindness and a true spirit of giving. My hope is that it inspires you, just as it inspired me, to spread a little extra joy and love this Christmas season. Merry Christmas. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World. I'm your host, Beth, and I'm an ordinary person amazed by the extraordinary people surrounding us. This podcast is about people who live among us who are doing extraordinary things. You can expect to meet people from all walks of life doing things that may inspire you, make you want to change, or just simply sit back and delight in their stories. I have met the most extraordinary people in my ordinary world, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity to share their stories. Now listen in and enjoy. Your inspiration may be right here in this episode. Welcome to December's episode of Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World. This episode will be a little bit different than what you're typically used to hearing. We're going to make it a little bit shorter since it is the busy schedule of December. And we're going to talk to somebody who had an extraordinary person in her life. Part of the reason I started this podcast is because I met so many people that I really thought their story should be out there, and they either passed away or the stories get partially forgotten. So this story is very well remembered by the person I'm interviewing today, and that person is my first guest, Doris Monroe's daughter, Connie. So I'm going to introduce you to her, and we'll get started with today's briefer episode. Good afternoon, Connie. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. This is so much fun. I'm glad to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you, not only because you're my cousin, and, that always makes things great, but your story is great also. So me and Connie grew up more like sisters than we did cousins.
Yep.
So we know a lot of our stories and a lot of the things that have happened to us. And the story always resonated with me because I love Christmas. I have a great love of Christmas because of my mom and my dad. They made it a special holiday always.
Yes, they did.
And Connie has a story because of her childhood that she'll talk to you about. My cousin also has a book. And I don't think that story is in your book, is it, Connie?
Actually, it is.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? Now that we're talking about it, I should have actually looked in the book before the call, but I can't remember which chapter it is.
Okay.
But it really, I do know what chapter it is. The chapter is called Expect Miracles.
Okay.
And so this was like a Christmas miracle. So that's why I put that in that chapter.
And the name of your book?
It's Holding On to Joy Through Abandonment and Divorce.
And you could find that on Amazon if somebody wanted to pick that up?
Yep.
Okay.
Pick it up on Amazon, either on Kindle or paperback.
Okay. So because we're going to focus on this story today, of your childhood, if you could just give a brief history of, how you grew up, what happened, and then what brought you to this particular story involving Christmas.
Sure. So, the title pretty much says it all. So I wrote the book really to inspire people to chase after their dreams, no matter what happens, right? Like we all have difficulties in our life to overcome. And I just figured I would write about the span of my life, life lessons I learned and, what to do to hold on to your dreams and to, just pursue no matter what. And by chapter 4 or 5, I found I was only writing about those life lessons from when my father abandoned me as a child or from what I learned about going through divorce. And so it's 12 chapters, and each chapter is advice on how to hold on to joy.
Okay.
And it's interesting because when I was 9, my father left the family, as you know, remember Uncle Ed.
Mm-hmm.
He had a very bad drinking problem. And honestly, the last 3 or 4 years that he was with us, he had sobered up. He became like this great member of the church and great member of the community. And everybody was in awe that he could have changed his life around and become like this really good father and husband and everything. And then one day he just fell off the bandwagon. The story about that is also in the book, but it's like one day he just, fell off the bandwagon and that was it. And so, when he left, my mom struggled because he was very much a man of, he's the breadwinner and, you shouldn't work, you're raising the children. So my mom really was a stay-at-home mom. And so when he left and, basically took whatever money was in the checking account and ran off, of course, my mom had to go to work immediately. And it was like nothing was matching up. And so she decided that maybe it would be better to, get educated in something that she'd always have work. And there was this opportunity for her to become a nurse. And it was her lifelong dream to become a nurse. And what better story to put in my book, because that's also part of it, right? She's the one who's inspired me to live a life of authenticity, right? And listen, a lot of people at that time were like, "What? Just get a job. You can't be going back to school. This is going to mean like, oh my God, you're going to suffer and whatever." But my mom knew if I could just do this for 2 years, I know I'll never be out of a job, right? Hospitals always need nurses, and so that's what she did. And so at some point in the first 2 years of my father abandoning us, it did get hard. It was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like there's no food in the cupboard, like holy mackerel, like, I don't know. So now just a little bit of a background. My sisters, I have 3 sisters. You and I are the youngest of 4. I happen to have all sisters where you have 1 sister and 2 brothers. But my sisters are 8, 9, and 10 years older than me, and they're a product of my mother's first marriage, right? So we did not grow up like half sisters. So they had a different dad than I did. But it's pretty relevant for the story because they had their dad, right? He was still in their life. And so for this rough Christmas that we were experiencing, they had their dad, right? So imagine being my mom and, you've got these 3 kids. She doesn't have to worry about them at Christmas because they've got their dad. But now she's got this, like, by that time I'm like 11 or 12, right? And so, it's really hard to think about because, like, as an adult, I mean, I don't have children, but I can only imagine what it took for my mom to do this. So here it is. We do our family tradition, which was my sisters spent Christmas Eve with their dad. And then mom and I would go to midnight mass at the St. Joseph's Catholic Church where I grew up and went to school and everything. And she would either be giving out communion or doing the readings. But we did a midnight mass. It was really a lovely tradition because my sisters had their dad. And so this was like, oh, this is great because we can be together and we can, have our own little Christmas Eve, right? So what happens is it was dire, and now I'm thinking as an adult, I'm thinking, wow, for my mom to have this conversation with me, which was, there's not going to be much of a Christmas. And so the both of us are in the living room. We did have a Christmas tree. And she was apologizing to me. She was actually quite sad. And she's like, I'm really sorry, but there's only going to be one Christmas present. And maybe you should open it now. And we were both crying. It was so sad.
Oh, that is
so sad. It really was sad. And as an adult, I can only imagine what that must have taken for her to do to her youngest child, right?
But
So
as an adult,
an
adult, that's kind of, now you look back, that was kind of the gift. Her being able to talk to you about it and open up and share that moment.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we had our little cry. I opened the box. It was this beautiful sweater. And then we were sort of over it, and she's like, listen, we're going to go to Annie Lane's house tomorrow, your mom. right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to your Annie Lane's house. We're going to have a big dinner. We're going to be around lots of people. There's going to be tons of cookies because God knows your mom cooked enough cookies to feed the world, right?
She sure did.
So we were just looking forward to going to the Browns' house. That's what we were looking forward to. We're like, we are so grateful. We are so fortunate. Like, we have a Christmas tree. I have one present. And then we get to go to this loving environment tomorrow where we're not going to be lonely and we're going to have plenty of food, where there was like very little food in the house, right? So with that, there comes a knock on the door. And we're like looking at each other. And we're like, in 1 hour, we've got church to go to. And we're like, it's like 9:00 at night, right? We're like, who is it? We open the door and there's this woman there. It's standing there in full habit. She's a nun, Sister Elizabeth. She's standing there with a big box in her hand.
I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Calm Creations. If you like relaxing by the warm glow of a candle with the scent that brings back memories, I've got the perfect candle company for you. Calm Creations, based in New Jersey, makes high-quality, beautifully scented candles, and 10% of their profits go to benefit nonprofit organizations. Check out their amazing selection at calmcreations.com. And thank you for being a sponsor of Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World.
And we're like, are you okay? She's like, I need to bring this stuff into the house. I'm looking at Mom. Mom's looking at me. What's going on? Then this guy, George, comes up the stair with another box. It's overflowing with food. It's overflowing. Then George goes and gets another box, by the way, right? It's overflowing with wrapped Christmas presents.
Wow.
And just imagine my like 11, 12-year-old little brain going like, boom, Christmas miracle. Like, wow. And you know, at that time we had my nephew who grew up, Aaron, he and I grew up like siblings, but he was only 10 years younger than I was. So at that time they were living with us. So my sister with her young son, Grandma Longstaff was living with us, right? So we had a full house. There was more than one present for every member of our household.
Wow.
And the food sustained us for, I don't know. As a young kid, I really can't remember, but it felt like it sustained us for the rest of for 4 months or 5 months. And, we just couldn't believe it. And, my sisters knew what was going on and they were all also looking forward to going to Annie Lane and Uncle Donald's house, but when they came in that night, they were like, what happened? Where did all this stuff come from? And so we got to tell them the story. And it really was like a Christmas miracle. And in the chapter that I have this in my book, Expect Miracles, it is true. Like we have to keep looking forward and we have to expect miracles. We really have to expect miracles. I feel very grateful for the way I grew up, regardless of what my father did or, what poverty we might have experienced, because it really taught me a lot about life. It taught me to believe in something bigger than myself. And it taught me to trust that at the end of the day, God's got me. Right. God has me.
Right.
And I don't know anything about your listener base. I would invite people who, maybe don't have such a belief to at least believe in something bigger than themselves. Right. If lots of people these days refer to the universe or whatever, I can assure you that I've reconnected with the Bible in the last several years and it's in there. It is in there.
Right. Well, you and I both share a strong faith, so we relate in that way. But like you said, other people may think of it as somebody else or something else or the source or the universe, whatever they call it. But there is definitely something bigger than yourself.
There
and
definitely is.
That was a little Christmas miracle. Yeah. And, Christmas in itself is a miracle.
I didn't share the other part of it. So here, the whole thing happens. It's crazy. you know this part of it. Elizabeth and George. I'm sorry. Elizabeth and George were our
little
grandparents.
extraordinary people.
Yeah. Yeah, Elizabeth and George. So Elizabeth was our grandmother, right?
Right.
Your mom's mom, my mom's mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's what connects us. So that's Elizabeth. That was our grandmother. And George was our grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth and these extraordinary, Sister Elizabeth was just, this nun, like making sure that people were getting taken care of. And George, I don't even remember George that much. I just knew he did a lot of stuff for the church. And here it was, our grandpa George was already dead and gone, but Elizabeth was still living with us. But it was like, who better than to give us these gifts than Elizabeth and George? Right? That was the other part of the miracle. It was like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't even put two and two together with that until I was older.
That is very, I don't know, what, as your mom would say, God acting anonymously, or no coincidences.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
When I think about, so it was Sister Elizabeth and this gentleman, George, both St. Joseph parishioners.
Yep.
So they're your two extraordinary people that night, but there were a lot of people involved in that little miracle. I'm sure that donated, right?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, when I became an adult and I became an active member, in my church and started coaching cheerleaders and the rest of it, I always made sure that we did something like that. Yeah. And because I knew that there would be some family or multiple families in the parish somewhere struggling the way we did. And I always made sure we gave back. I always made sure when I coached cheerleaders for about 6 or 7 years. And, again, wanting to give back. That's another chapter in my book, Give Back. One way to hold on to your joy is to give back. And so I just wanted to give back in that manner. And then every Christmas time, what would happen is we would collect presents, we would collect food, and we would say, what family needs this? And I never met, and it's meeting them is not the point, right? It's just knowing that it's out there. And I can just imagine some people getting a little list saying, there's an 11-year-old little girl who needs a Christmas present, and somebody going out and buying that present and then them wrapping it up and not knowing where it went to, but knowing that, it made somebody's holiday a little bit brighter.
I love every part of the story. I know the family, you, of course, my family, and I know how much it made you happy. But what I think I got out of it, and what I'd love the audience to get out of it, is that you're one person and you may be donating one gift to your Christmas tree at church, or your Christmas tree at your school or your job or wherever it might be. But that makes you an extraordinary person, regardless of how little that gift may be.
I agree 100%.
So little things matter.
It had such an impact on me as a child. And to see my nephew, right? He's like running around that. What did Aaron know? He didn't know. He was younger than I was, right?
Right.
And the ripple effect, because listen, there's a woman I work with now. She's a sort of a colleague of mine, and she always talks about actions like this and how they go back to the community, right? It's kind of like what people talk about when they talk about a ripple effect. Right. If I hadn't had that experience, I can't tell you how many times I've done the whole gift thing. I can't tell you how many times. And so that then infects the next person, right? I was a little kid. I had nothing under the Christmas tree. This gift shows up, and it goes on. And it's like literally the gift that keeps on giving.
Right. Right. I just love the story, and those Sister Elizabeth, your parishioner George, great people, making sure on Christmas Eve they're taking time out of their night to make sure somebody else is happy.
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve for them too, and there they were. And I remember it was freezing cold outside, and my mom wanting them to come in and have a cup of coffee or something, but they had more people to deliver to, so it just was really And it's really funny because I haven't talked about this story in a long time. And of course I know it, and I've told it, and I've written about it, and, published about it. And And I literally just now when I was telling you the story, I had to like, hey, keep yourself in check because I could have just started blubbering. Like it really is. Like I'm 55 now. I was like 11 when that happened, and it's just amazing because it really does. It's the whole like It's a Wonderful Life.
Right.
It's like that whole thing that no man is a failure who has friends, and we have to remember that we are all, it's kind of like we're all in this together, and we have to remember those people who are to themselves, right? They're, maybe they don't feel like they have a lot of friends, but we have to look out for each other because that's what makes, that's the essence of Christmas spirit, isn't it?
100%. So in the, keeping it brief, like we said we were going to do, I'm going to ask you one final question.
Sure.
From that story, and you gave us a couple little messages you learned, what would be your overall lesson I learned, something you like to share with everyone?
I guess it would have to be that in our darkest moments, we have to expect the light, no matter what. I can remember being very sad, very, very sad, and feeling like, wow, this has got to be, because it wasn't easy growing up to begin with. My father, like I said, the last few years, he was great, but, he was kind of erratic. And then when that was really like apparent that, wow, we can't even rustle up a Christmas Eve dinner. Like it was like, whoa. And so what I know is, and one of the reasons I'm so grateful for that experience is that as an adult, when I've had dark moments in my adult life, and I think back to that moment, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And anyone who's feeling any type of despair, it's going to be okay.
It is. It is. So your extraordinary people or your little angel showed up in the form of a nun and a middle-aged man. So there's angels out there for everybody. We just have to keep our eyes open.
Absolutely. And Mr. Rogers used to say, look for the helpers.
Aww.
When you need something, look for the helpers because there's always someone who's willing to help. Always.
Great message. So we're going to end our episode, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And
thank you for having me. And
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
God bless us.
Thank you for joining me on Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Please share with a friend. If you know an extraordinary person, I would love to hear from you so that I can feature them on the show. Please email me at bethextraordinarypeople@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at extraordinary_people_podcast. I look forward to hearing from you. And in the words of Saint Mother Teresa, not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. I look forward to our next extraordinary person, the first Friday of next month. See you then.